So, you want to be a construction manager? Well, you've come to the right channel. My name's Laz. I've been working in the construction management industry for about 10 years now, and I've worked on all sorts of projects. I've worked on projects from high-rise development to commercial development, which is office towers. I'm now working in light industrial, and I'm doing all sorts of projects from infrastructure to warehouse facilities and these kinds of things. So I guess as a student fresh out of school, you're trying to figure out what is your career path, where you want to go. This is a very lucrative industry to be in, and it's a good place to learn and start from scratch, and you can be someone who is a tradesman who started from basically a certified ticket, an operational health and safety person, to a plumbing or electrician, and you can take that into general contracting. So now I bet you're asking yourself, what is the question? What is general contracting? So if you think of it this way, general contracting is essentially contractor that hires out all the other contractors beneath him. So someone gets a contract with an owner who wants to build a facility or building, and then they go out and hire engineers, consultants to do the design work for them, and then at the same time they have to have another contract with the general contractor. So I am a project manager for a general contracting firm, and I have to manage all the subcontracts with all the other plumbing teams, electrical teams, data cabling, structural steel, concrete teams. So those are all the relationships that I have to balance. So what that brings into question is what is involved in construction management. So an overhead view of what that is, essentially you have a project. Every project has 5 things that need to be managed at a very minimum basic level. So it has a start date, it has an end date, and it has a duration of some kind between the start date and end date, and then it has a cost, and it has a level of quality that needs to be met over the duration of that cost life cycle, and you also have to meet what's called the scope. So what is the scope? The scope is considered sometimes abbreviated or known as scope of work. The scope of work is something that's located inside of the contract documents. So now your next question is, what are the contract documents? Contract documents usually are the documents associated with the construction project. So that could be anything from drawings that the engineers create and design. That could be anything from the actual contract itself and the provisions listed within the contract, and then what's known as the specifications. So a good example of a specification would be, this wall will not exceed this thickness and shall be made of this material using these kinds of studs. So what it usually lists out is like means and methods, product types and styles of product that we want to use in a project. All of this information is known colloquially as design information or design criteria. That'll be found within the specification. So early on in a job, you'll probably do something what's called a bid, and you'd have to bid all these things. But this is, again, very high level. We're going pretty deep into this. I guess the real reason why I clicked on this video was to realize and figure out, what do I want to do in construction management, and is it the right thing for me? Well, on a very high level, what I can say is construction management provides a gateway into many different industries. So there's a lot of overlapping industries that also have kind of crossover with the Venn diagram of construction management. But in a high level sense, what it is you're managing people, you're managing time, and you're spending a lot of time managing money. So knowing where money flows, knowing how to price things correctly, how to put together budgets correctly, how to associate cost and evaluate the time of work spent on a cost, and running all of those things simultaneously to meet that end date that we talked at the beginning of this video. So just to reiterate one more time, the 5 things that you should be paying attention to on a very, very high level of construction management is 1, when does the project start, the start date. 2, when does the project end, the end date. So the start date could be like January 1st of 2022, and the end date could be January 1st, 2027, right? So knowing where you are in that time frame, right? The next thing is the duration. So the duration of how long it takes the steel portion of the project to be done, the duration of how long the concrete portion costs, and how long that takes to be built, and then the duration of the glass, and the duration of all the fittings and the walls and all the mechanical electrical services that go in the building. So this all kind of falls on like a collapsing chart. Sometimes you'll see it on what's known as a Gantt chart. So that's number 3, duration. Number 4 is cost. Everything in construction management has to do with cost, because that's how we make money. We put a markup on the margin of the cost it takes to complete what's called a change event. A change event can evolve either into change order, or it can be an owner change that gets escalated via change directives. We can talk way more about that in other videos. And thing number 4 that we need to pay attention to is scope. Scope is the other thing. So again, we talked about the contract documents. So everything within the contract documents will tell you what the scope is about. And then finally, the last thing that usually gets overlooked, but is still very crucial and important to the completion of the project, is quality. So there is a certain standard of quality that must be met. You know, like if you pour a concrete wall, you don't want to see cracks in it. It needs to meet and pass a standard of quality control. So in steel, there's these things called mill certificates, and we can get way more into that in other videos, but I'm just, again, reiterating on a 5-point basis. What are the 5 most important things from a high level perspective in construction management? That's A, your start date, B, your end date, C, your scope of work, duration, and then D is your duration, and finally the last one is quality. Okay, thanks.